Okay, so it's on. Okay, hang on. Here's back a little bit so that I can see my pants. You know. Here, try that. You know. Yeah, there we go. That's better. You can see the whole body of me. So doing this video because there's something that I feel like I need to tell people. It's like kind of my opinion. I'm sorry if it sounds a bit negative, but I'm not trying to do it that way. However, okay, so of course you all know, or most of you have seen, that our federal government is not letting people from other countries like Syria or Mexico buy our houses because they want the houses to have been sold by our place, which I can kind of understand. That is not fair for like me and my dad who can't find a house. But the majority of the houses that people bought, the majority of them are from Canada. Like, even if they were from other countries, they were born here in Canada. Or they have lived in Canada for like 50, 60 years or maybe 4 or 5 years. So, to me, I don't think it's right that those people shouldn't be allowed a house. Although I am happy that the interest rates have gone up because that means the people that are here in Canada, they're moving down from Toronto to here in North Bay, they can't get a house as much because they won't be able to borrow money from the government, right? Because they would have to pay more back than they would actually take out. So houses were going for like $600 or $700 or less than that, maybe $400 or $500, and you're starting to make it so then if they take out $400 or $500, they would have to pay like $700 or $800 back to the bank. They won't be able to take out like $500 or $600 and pay $500 or $600 back. They would have to pay more back, which is good because though like me and my dad can afford a house because you know, of course, personal issues, but that's okay. But yeah, me and my dad are temporarily staying with my grandparents. We have been staying here for a few years now because we couldn't afford a house because everybody was accepting $400 or $500 way above what the house is actually costing. And even if the houses weren't that expensive, they needed a lot of work to it. Some of them needed to be torn down. They were in so bad shape. So, which doesn't make sense to put it up for sale if it needs to be torn down, but guess if people have the money, they can do that. Maybe not tear it down, but they can like tear down the outside and then fix the inside of the walls. They might not need to tear the whole thing down, but you know. But over time, your house rots on the inside, right? If it's old, especially if nobody's using it, right? It rots over time, right? Like if a house hasn't been lived in for about 4 or 5 years, it'll rot. So it'll rot quicker than what you than if the people were to be living in it. Anyways, so that's why too, right? Some houses that my dad went to see are beyond repairable. He doesn't have enough money to repair the whole house. He just wants to buy a house and redo the inside, like the floors with like the hardwood and that. So, yeah. Anyways, so that's good on that part, that the interest rates are going up. Because that means that hopefully me and my father would be able to have a house, which is good. Really, really, really fantastic. Hopefully, yay, you know, finally. He's been looking for a few years, but, however, I do not like the fact that the government, the federal government, like our prime minister right now, is not allowing those people from other countries to buy a house here. And that's not fair, because they need a place to live. And I know that they're taking away our jobs. So I guess that's another reason too, but half of us don't really want to work. I never seen, like, I've seen people, like, out there begging for money. There was this guy at a Tim Hortons not too long ago, sitting outside the Tim Hortons. And I asked the cashier if he was homeless and that I would like to get him a gift card. She said, no, heck no. We offered him a job multiple times and he wouldn't take it. He wouldn't even go for a job because he just likes to sit out there and make money in the summer. Sit out there and beg for money. Like, that's not fair. And yet we're complaining about the foreign people from like Syria and Mexico taking our jobs, when we won't even get out and get one ourselves. Like, even if we don't want to make minimum wage, we can still create our own businesses. There's lots of stuff that people are good at. Like, people make good money cutting grass or doing yard work, or like, you know, certainly just gotta be stuff that you're good at, that you can work towards. Now you can start up your own business. And then, like, lots of people, did lots of baking when the pandemic was on, and that's how they made their money. That I know lots of people hand make stuff too, and they're really, 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 really good. You know, I just don't find they do as much as they should be. You know, and the people that do make handmade stuff are all special needs in some way. You know, or older people. You know, when that was very popular back 50, 60 years ago or something. Or even less than that. But people my age don't really do that anymore. It's usually people from foreign countries or people with special needs that do that now. So if you're not going to get a job, then why shouldn't we let the foreign people get the job then? Because you're just sitting on your butts all day doing nothing. Sometimes. Some people in Canada are. Like, this guy that I saw was totally Canadian or American or something. Like, he wasn't Hispanic. Like, nor was he dark skinned. Or like dark skinned person. He was like me. He was like me. Just sitting out there with his hat and his drink, and then waiting for hey, may I have a bit of moolah? May I have $1 too? Like, it's like, no, take a hike, buddy. Like, you shouldn't be doing that. Alright? If you want a job, go and do yard work. You know, you can make lots more money quicker if you earn your money. Right? So that's why I don't think it's fair that people from other countries can't live here. Right? Because if the interest rates are going up, they should be able to pay for the house just as it is. Right? Because half the people that were paying for the houses were Canadian. Right? Because people from Syria or from Mexico and places, Cuba, that don't have much money, they wouldn't have enough much money to take a loan from the bank, so they're probably in the same boat as me and Dad. Right? They apply for a house and then somebody offers up something bigger and then they just take it. That's not fair either. I don't think that should be allowed. Actually, it kind of reminds me, if you're not going to let the people come here from other countries to live and have a good job, then you might as well do what Donald Trump did. Just build the wall. Build a big wall on our border to separate them then. Because basically you are acting just as hateful and discriminatory as Trump by saying that, sorry, you can't come here to live, not your country, stay where you belong. Like, that's not very nice. It's like, well, the white people like me and you came from Europe and took over the natives' land. Why don't we go back to Europe where we belong? Why don't we all go back to Europe where we first started out? That'll make it, and let the foreign people live here. It's the same thing. It's like, why don't we go back to Europe and let them live here? Right? Because that's basically where the white people came from anyway. So it's like, so if you think they're fortune people, we're actually fortune people. Because a long time ago, like thousands of years ago, natives used to live here. Those were the true Canadians. The natives were actually true Canadians. We weren't. We were from Europe, I think. And we took over. So if anything, we should go back to Europe. Not them. Right? It's the same thing. Right? We should go back to Europe where we belong. But it would be right, just fair to say that to a white person? No. They're probably thinking the exact same way as you're thinking of them. Like, jeepers, why don't you just go back to Europe where you belong? If you're gonna have me go back to Mexico or go back to Syria, right? If you're not gonna allow me a place to live, why don't you go back to Europe where you belong? It's the same thing. If we don't like it, well, then we should accept them too. Because they accepted us, right? They had every opportunity to, kill all the white people or make them go back, but they didn't. They refused not to. They allowed us to live here just as much as we were allowed to get a job here, So why shouldn't it be the same way with Syrian people and all of them people that want to come over here and have a good career and have a good future? You gotta think of that. Gotta think of it works two ways. It really, really, really does. And I don't think it's fair to say that people foraging people like people from Syria or Mexico can't come here and live when technically we're the ones that are foreign people. Right? We weren't originally from North Bay, and not everybody here was all natives. Everybody here was all people from like different countries. We never came until like hundreds of years down the road. So, if anything, they might be thinking, why don't you go back to where you came from then? Because if anybody knows history of Canada, that is what happened. We didn't exist on this planet unless it was from Europe, or somewhere out there, Asia or Europe or something. I'm thinking probably Europe, like England and that. That's where all the white people came from, right? And then I think they just took over because they're gotten so many. They just wanted to have a place to live, but they end up forcing the natives to work and to live like them. right? Because we wanted them to be like us. We wanted them to be like us. And the same with me, right? I give anything to have a job. I give, like I'm still working right now as a hobby, just to sell my art. Still get money from the government, but it's not enough. It's not as much as I would like. So if I could sell my artwork to make a bit of money, then that'll make me happy. I can have a little bit extra money to spend or to put in the bank, over time. It'll just be like I have my own little job every once or every couple months or something. 3 or 4 months or something. I can sell my art, make it my own little job. Make me worth something here on this planet. Not just sitting here like a bump on a log. Cause I feel like I am a bump on a log, and I feel like I should get my ass out there and do something. So it's like, well, meanwhile you're complaining about Syrian people and people from Mexico and people from Cuba coming over and taking all your jobs. Meanwhile, we people either can't do it, right? Because we're whatever, like special needs. Sometimes people with special needs can't get a job right now. Or if you have like a little white child, like that's about this big, right? Like 34 years old, of course they can't get a job at 34 years old. So, but for the people that are out there begging for money, right? That are old enough to beg for money, like 16 or up, 16 to about like 90 or 80 something years old. You should not be complaining about people from way, people from Timbuktu, buying up our houses and taking our jobs and that. Meanwhile, I've seen people who don't really do anything. They get money. Like, that's not earning it. That's not what being human is for. God put us on this planet, like, people from like thousands of years ago. People used to work for the money. Like, they used to make like coats and furs, and they used to sell them. They make money, and they used to make like all kinds of bowls, and they used to sell them to make money. And so technically, just sitting on your butt and saying, "Here, can I have $2, please, for this and this and this?" Like here, let me just point this out for you. Let me just show you an example, right? Let's say somebody comes up to me here, like somebody up the stairs, and it's like, "Hey, garçon," or "Hey, sir," or "Hey, man, do you have any spare change that I can get to get? Do you have any spare change that I can get to go in the store and get something to eat?" Or, "Hey, do you have any spare change that I can get to get gas?" No. Like, you can't just do that. If you were really that homeless or hard on money, you certainly wouldn't be begging. You certainly wouldn't be asking. Right? Because I know homeless people or people that are hard on money. If I know somebody who's broke and if I didn't know better, people that are really hard on money don't normally like to ask. People that are hurting don't like to ask for money because they think it's wrong, right? So I know that if I see a person that's not asking for money, then I know that they're probably very, very, very hurting, because people that are hard on money aren't the greedy. So I would just think about what I said before you go and accuse somebody of, "Ooh, look at, they're hurting their business. What are they doing? Taking their jobs. Taking our jobs. Well, meanwhile, you don't want to do it." It's the same thing.